Hello students, this is Dr. Shailen Kumar Singh and in our biochemistry lecture series today we are going to discuss about protein metabolism and in this class we will discuss about biosynthesis of amino acids. Why is protein important? As we all know that protein is an essential micronutrient. It is found throughout the body in muscles, bone, skin, hair and virtually every other body part or tissue. It makes the enzymes that power many chemical reaction and the hemoglobin that carries oxygen in your blood. At least 10,000 different proteins make you what you are and keep you that way. So proteins are very important part of our body. So how this important part is made from? Protein is made from 20 plus basic building blocks which we called amino acids. And around 300 amino acids exist in the nature, but only 20 amino acids known as standard amino acids or proteinogenic amino acids, and which commonly constitute the human proteins. So amino acids are the building block for protein. They provide carbon and hydrogen for the synthesis of other biomolecules, and this thing we will discuss in the class. And they are also the source of energy. Around 4 calorie per gram of the energy we can obtain from the protein. So plants and microorganisms can synthesize all of the 20 standard amino acids, but mammal cannot synthesize all 20 and must obtain some of them in their diet because we can't store amino acids in our bodies. So either we make from the scratch or by modifying others. Nine amino acids like histidine, isoleucine, leucine, lysine, methionine, phenylalanine, threonine, tryptophan, and valine. They are known as essential amino acids, and rest of the amino acids is known as non-essential. So, as you can see in this slide also, this is the basic building block of the amino acids, and this R group is continuously changed in the amino acids, different amino acids like valine. This is the leucine, isoleucine, histidine. So as you change the R, the amino acid will be changed. So an amino acid contains four branch. First is amino group, then carboxylic group, hydrogen, and R group. These are the mostly four branches of an amino acids. Okay, now let's move on to the next slide and see how a protein made from these amino acids. Suppose these are two amino acids, one amino acid, and this one is the second amino acid. So both are linked together at COONH bond and release one of the hydrogen. As you can see in this animation, this is the carboxylic group, this is amino group. They are mixed together and release one hydrogen water molecule and made a peptide bond. So this kind of bond is made in the protein. And now let's move on to the next slide. So no protein can be stored in the body. Amino acids from the diet are used to make new protein, but it's energetically very expensive process. New proteins are made only when they are needed. Excess amino acids have to be degraded through the process of transamination, which will be discussed in the later class. Okay, now let's move on to the next slide and see the overview of amino acid metabolism. Amino acids from protein in the diet or from intracellular protein can be metabolized to provide significant contribution to the generation of energy. And the contribution to metabolic energy varies on the basis of organism. Like carnivores may obtain 90% of energy requirements from amino acid metabolism, while vegetarians may obtain only a small fraction of their energy which needs from the amino acids. Microorganisms can also use amino acids for an energy source if they are present in environment. But plants using photosynthesis for energy rarely, if ever, use amino acids for energy. In animals, amino acids undergo oxidative degradation during three different metabolic circumstances. During normal synthesis and degradation of cellular proteins, some amino acids will undergo oxidative degradation if they are not needed for a new protein. As you can see in this slide also, suppose this is our ingested protein and it take down into the amino acids. And this amino acid could undergo in different pathways. You can using the biosynthesis of some of the molecule, or you can make protein from this, or this excess amino acid will be undergoes into catabolism and degrade into nitrogen and carbon skeleton. And nitrogen part, you know that it, it's a very toxic and it could be released as a urea. But some of the part of the nitrogen could also be utilized in the purine and pyrimidine synthesis. While the carbon skeletons can undergo into two process, ketogenic and glucogenic. We will discuss these processes in the later classes when we will discuss about catabolism. This is another part, this different schematic of the same thing. As you can see, this ammonia could be utilized in the biosynthesis of amino acid or nucleotides, or also could be waste as a urea cycle. While this carbon skeleton will be utilized through the citric acid cycle. We have already discussed about this cycle, citric acid cycle. Okay, now let's move on to the next slide and see how do proteins from foods we get. So protein digestion get processed into amino acid that cells can use to make new proteins. So how this process will happen? Protein breakdown begins in the stomach. No protein hydrolyzing enzyme are found in saliva. So this portion of the alimentary canal, it's not for the protein digestion. Okay, now let's move on to the this hydrolysis part. And all of the hydrolysis thing, 10% of the peptide bonds denaturization with the help of some of the enzymes, proteases, and in the stomach like chymotrypsin, carboxypyr, and release amino acids. Okay, this is the overall the process of the digestion. As you can see, this is dietary protein, and the mouth is no digestion occur. But in the stomach, there are so many different enzymes, pepsin, which denature and partially hydrolyze the protein. And in the small intestine, where the most of the proteases are found, like trypsin, chymotrypsin, aminopeptidase, and carboxypeptidases, make the smaller portion of the protein that will be called amino acids. And these amino acids are absorbed through the active transport in the bloodstream. Okay. Now let's move on to the next slide. In the past life, we have discussed about these free amino acids are absorbed through the intestinal canal via an active transport, and these amino acids now enter into the our bloodstream, or and it's and are brought to the cells. So this it makes a amino acid pool. The total supply of free amino acids are available is called amino acid pool. And what are the sources of this pool? There are three sources basically: dietary protein breakdown, biosynthesis of amino acids in the liver and protein turnover. What is protein turnover? We will discuss this also in the later class. Actually, it's a protein turnover is the breakdown and resynthesis of the body protein. So resynthesis of the body from the old tissues, damage and recycling enzymes and hormones. Okay, now let's move on to the next slide and see the different pathways for the biosynthesis of the amino acids. Just as some plastic can be recycled to make new products, so amino acids could also recycle to make new proteins. But how? We are familiar with the glycolysis cycle. Glycolysis cycle, you remember that, where the glucose is undergoes into the reaction and transform into the pyruvate, and this pyruvate undergoes into the citric acid cycle. So, from in this pathway, there are some of the products which can form different amino acids. Like 3-phosphoglycerate could undergoes also electro 4-phosphate, which made tryptophan, phenylalanine, tyrosine. These are the aromatic amino acids, and it could also go into the another pathway and make serine, and glycine and cysteine. Similarly, phosphoenol pyruvate, and in the citric acid cycle, oxaloacetate and alpha ketoglutarate. So, on the basis of their origin, we can also divide the amino acid into these 6 groups, like glutamate family, aspartate family, serine family, and pyruvate family, and this is the aromatic family and histidine family. So, on the basis of their origin, we can also divide the amino acids. So now we have already discussed about the essential and non-essential amino acids. Amino acids that can be made in the amounts needed by the body are called non-essential amino acids because they don't need to be obtained from the diet. And the essential amino acid cannot be made in large enough amounts and must be obtained from the diet. So this is the table which shows the different essential and non-essential amino acids. Now, if we discuss about the amino acid biosynthesis, so essential in amino acids can be made by plants and bacteria only, and it contains 7 to 10 steps. It's a very complex process, so we will not discuss about this process in our class. And we obtain these amino acids by eating plants. Rest of the 11 non-essential amino acids are synthesized in 1 to 3 steps. It's a very simple process, and which we have already discussed. By using the glycolysis intermediates or Krebs cycle intermediates. So this slide shows the different intermediates. This is the glycolysis intermediate which helps to formation of different amino acids, 3-phosphoglycerate and cysteine and cysteine, lysine and pyruvate and aniline, and this is the citric acid intermediates, and this is the essential amino acids. And alanine, aspartate, and glutamate used in the transamination, that is the catabolic reactions of amino acids, and we will discuss in our second lecture. So the biosynthesis, the key starting material for the synthesis of the 10 amino acids are the intermediates. Basically, they are the intermediates in the glycolysis and citric acid cycle, as you can see in this picture also. This is the summarized picture of all of the amino acids. Like this is the pathway of the this is the glycolysis pathway, and this one is the citric acid pathway, and all of the intermediate which amino acid which derived from the intermediates are shown here. So on the basis of their derivation, we can divide it into 2 parts: glucogenic amino acid and ketogenic amino acid. So pink one is the glucogenic, and blue one is the ketogenic amino acids. Biosynthesis of non-essential amino acids. Let's discuss about some of shortest reactions. Tyrosine is produced from the essential amino acid phenylalanine. So phenylalanine could be converted into the tyrosine with the help of enzyme phenylalanine hydroxylase. And three non-essential amino acids like glutamate, alanine, and aspartate, they are synthesized from alpha keto acids via transamination, as you can see in this reaction, with the help of the enzyme glutamic pyruvate transaminase. So transaminases, there are different transaminases which adjust the relative proportion of the amino acids to meet the needs of the body. Since most of our diets do not contain amino acids in the exact proportion needed by the body, so these transaminases are very important and they act as a buffer. Okay, so they make a relative appropriate proportion of the amino acid pool, which helps to make our body protein synthesis. Okay, now let's move on to the next slide. Aspargine and glutamine are formed from the aspartate and glutamate by the reaction of side chain carboxylate groups with ammonium ion. As you can see in this reaction, these are the aspartate which mix with the ammonium ion and converted into the aspargine. Similarly, glutamate is mixed with the ammonium ion and makes a glutamine. While the synthesis of arginine, cysteine, glycine, proline, and serine are more complex. So this is the end of this lecture, students. And in this lecture, we have discussed about the proteins, which is very important organic molecule of our body, and it is made up from the amino acids. And on the basis of their need, it could be divided into two parts: essential and non-essential amino acids, or it could also be divided on the basis of their origin into six different groups. Some synthesis of some amino acids are very complex, while some are very simple. And if you have any doubts regarding this lecture, you can always mail me at drshality2@gmail.com. Thank you.